is now joining us.
All right, looks like we're all in, so Madam President will get us over.
This meeting will come to order and we will have the flag salute. Please stand. Mr. Paul, please.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to our meeting. I will now pass it over to Judy now.
Thank you, Madam President. As we begin tonight's study session, just a few items to note that we do have 2 board members here present this evening, and on phone conference joining us satellite we have Lisa Marroquin, board clerk, Dr. Jose Lawless, and Mr. John Z. Sikafus. If the board members on the phone, if you could keep your phones on mute, that would be helpful to avoid any feedback, and then unmute when you would like to speak. Tonight, if you take a vote on anything per board policy, we must vote by roll call. And as you can see, we're practicing a safe distance of 6 feet this evening. And also, when speaking into the microphone, be sure that your mouth is not touching the piece, and you can speak further away from the mic to ensure that we stay healthy. Thank you.
Okay, we will now have a presentation to the board.
Madam President, good evening. The first presentation that's listed on the agenda tonight, prior to our 2019-2020 second interim report, which will be presented by Dahlia, is going to be an update on the school closure and as a result to the COVID-19 virus. So what I'd like to do at this time is kind of give the board a quick update of...
Dr. Lynn, one second, I missed. Since there are no blue cards, we have no public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. So what I'm going to do is kind of take us back just a little bit to last Friday with 3 executive orders, if you will, in the fast-paced action that has been put before us and rapidly changing. What staff would like to do is give you a quick update in some of the areas, and also to provide an opportunity for your comment and input on some of the anticipated, perhaps unanswered questions, but certainly would like to get a couple steps ahead this evening, but in 2 different formats. The first one is an open session, and many of the question is relating to staffing in negotiations and collective bargaining. In fact, this morning, our Assistant Superintendent, Glenn Gonzalez, had a conversation, negotiated MOU with CSEA, and it has been very, very productive. And that part of the conversation as it relates to personnel and bargaining unit protocols, we're going to save that for closed session. So following Dahlia's presentation and your approval of the consent item and one other additional very important information on the item, we will excuse ourselves to closed session, which will be held tonight in the ABC room. Okay. With that said, going back to last Friday, we're, again, this word's been overly used, but I'll begin by saying again, unprecedented times. And things are moving very, very rapidly. And I want to first start by thanking the board. Again, going back to last Friday the 13th, they're coming together very, very quickly, in unanimous fashion, on the 13th of March to approve Resolution 83, which delegated the authority to the superintendent to be able to reallocate staff and deem closure of school or school district, if need be, relative, again, to the development of COVID-19 virus. So thank you for doing that. And that afternoon, I have exercised that authority that was deemed and granted to me to issue the closure of all schools here at CNUSD. Shortly thereafter, within actually an hour, the county office from Riverside, the health department, issued an executive order really imposing the local decision that we made as a board and the superintendent, and that a mandatory closure of all schools in the Riverside County beginning on the 13th of March to the 3rd of April took place on the 13th as well, March 13th. And as of just this afternoon, Dr. Kaiser, who is the executive director for the Riverside County Health Department, has extended that ending day from the 3rd of April to the 30th of April now. That's the latest change we have received so far. Again, that is the mandatory closure from the Riverside County Health Department. What I'd like to take you back to is some of the areas that we have to pay attention to and plan for as a result of the school closures. And the best way to describe that is under the parameter that was issued by the state of California as an executive department of the state of California order, N-2620, which was issued on the 13th by the governor. And in this emergency measure, he ordered in 4 different areas that are pertinent to the operation of our school and the closure of the school as a result of the COVID-19 virus in 4 different areas. The first is in order to receive state funding and support, the district, public school district and schools must follow these 4 different areas in terms of broad action. The first one is continue to deliver high quality education opportunities to the extent feasible. Second is provide school meals through the summer full services program, and that is aligned and consistent with the law. Third is to arrange to the extent practicable supervision of students. And fourthly, this has a lot to do again with personnel and negotiations because the fine details of continue to pay our employees, and we're committed to do that. So what I'd like to do is to first of all give you an update of the work that we've been doing under item number 2, which is the providing of the school meals to our needy students. I'm happy to report, first of all, thank you to Megan Cook, our Director of Child Nutritional Services. Through the leadership from that department, Dahlia, Ellen, and really all of us who have chipped in executive cabinet and principals at the school side to make this happen. We're able to very quickly designate over the weekend 12 delivery sites, and we're going to add, starting tomorrow, 3 additional delivery sites, one at Roosevelt High School in the city of Eastvale, Norco High School, and also Todd Academy in the Temescal Valley unincorporated area. And what we're going to do is continue to deliver meals between the hours 11 and 1:30, and also at the same time, thanks to the educational service instructional division and our principals who really have chipped in and very, very quickly able to develop a lot of enrichment material both online, and we also have made printed packets in order to ensure equity to our needed population without access to computers or the ability to access Wi-Fi. We have printed out these materials by grade level that we were able to provide and distribute at these lunch centers. We're going to start doing both, as I mentioned, on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. As of today, we have delivered over 2,700 meals collectively, and that is an increase by 1,000 from yesterday. Yesterday we delivered about 1,700, and we anticipate this number to go up. And so as the word of mouth gets out to the communities, we're able to be able to provide these services to our most needed families. And again, to remind the board that based on the law that's in place and consistent to the executive order from the state, we're following the summer school meal program, which is providing meals to those who are 18 and under, and 18 and under only. With that said, I'm going to give Ellen a little bit of opportunity to add any other comments with regards to the lunch delivery.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. Just a couple things maybe. As Dr. Lin mentioned, we are expanding our foods delivery to 3 sites tomorrow, so definitely those numbers will go up as we open more sites. The first couple days, as you know, this all happened so quickly, so Monday and Tuesday, yesterday and today, we pretty much used food we had on hand. So we were doing cooking. Monday we cooked pizzas and served pizza and chicken nuggets. And starting tomorrow, it's going to be more of a grab and go. We're not going to be cooking. They're going to be pre-packaged meals. If you have children or grandchildren, you probably are familiar with a Lunchable. That's pretty much what it's going to be. So starting tomorrow, there's all kinds of different Lunchables. So starting tomorrow, it really is going to be, we're encouraging people to drive through. If there's 4 children in the car, we will give 4 brown bags, if you will, lunches that have fruit or a vegetable, milk or juice, and then a Lunchable in it that they can consume any time during the day. So be a little bit different looking tomorrow than it's been Monday and Tuesday, and that was just because of using product we had on hand until we could get this kind of product in that we could quickly deliver and get out to our community.
Excuse me, is there a sign-in process? I know that you said 18 and under, and is there a sign-in process or anything like that?
We do not have a sign-in process, Mr. Pollack, and that's consistent with the way we've been delivering meals in the summertime as well. And we do a counter, and there's different ways to count for that. I've seen personally witness administrators, our child nutritional supervisors with a hand counter. Some are just really doing the deduction process and know that they have created, for example, 300 meals and there's 50 less. So obviously we have to deliver 150. So we're keeping track of that daily. Very critical question in response to that because we need to be reimbursed accurately, of course. So I appreciate the question. Any other questions from anyone, including Dr. Lawless, Ms. Lottie King, and Mr. Z?
Yeah, actually I have one. You had said the time from 11 to 1:30, what it shows on the web and all the stuff we've gotten is from 11 to 12 at most places, some from 11:30 to 12:30. So I just want to, in case people ask us, or if it is the 11 to 1:30, we need to change that because it doesn't say that.
Right, I appreciate it, Doctor. Mr. Z, correct? Mr. Z, okay. Right, the span that I give you, including the other 3, is we do not have the exact time yet, so that was the general frame. The list that you're talking about, we'll have new posting going out to the community, which includes those 3 sites. And generally speaking, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know we start based on the 12 sites we have right now. Some start at 11, many starts at 11:30. And so when I say 1:30, I'm anticipating just to have a staggered time frame, possibly, because it's not just about delivery, it's about making sure we have enough staff to be allocated. So Alan, can you speak to the time, please?
Yes, we gave a nice window of time to make sure we gave families, students an opportunity, time to be able to come in and get their meal. What we're experiencing, which is good, is that we have a lot of people there right at 11 or right at 11:30, so it's not taking us the 2.5 hours we anticipated to be able to serve everybody. So people are showing up right as we're beginning to serve, and for the most part, we're getting done within an hour, hour and a half. We're not totally shutting down, so if somebody shows up at 10 after 12, we're still serving them. But our experience for 2 days now has been that people are pretty much there right when we open. They're anxious to get the meals. We've had a number of people today. This is really a cool thing that there's a lot of people out there being impacted financially with their jobs and work from this whole situation. And we had a number of people today thanking us that we have no idea how much this means to them, that now that they've been laid off from their job, that they can come and get food for their children. So this is a real positive thing, but we'll continue to adjust those times as the need demands. But nobody's being turned away from getting a meal.
I think, and also to Mr. Z's question, we will be able to update, hopefully, the website with the proper added location and the actual time. What do you think, tonight maybe possible, because delivery starts tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, I can get a hold of Avita and make sure that, I think we've already communicated that out, but I'll make sure that I think it's already on.
It's already on? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have we ran out of meals at any of the locations, and if that does happen, do we direct them to the nearest other site, or what? Like, we have total numbers, but have we come close at all, or have we actually run out at certain sites?
To my knowledge, we've not run out of any food. We've changed, like we ran out of pizza, but we went right to chicken nuggets. So we've not run out of food. We maybe changed what the food was in the middle, but as far as I know, nobody's not gotten a meal that wanted one.
Any other questions on EHL Nutritional Services?
And the list we send out,
Sorry.
the list that we send out already from communications has the times for all the schools that we've been serving. So it's just the new schools that we added.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Dr. Lawless.
Yeah, my question is, I really appreciate our efforts in terms of the revenue. My question is, do we have data to a general sense of the health conditions in the district? Have we had any report on symptoms of students getting ill, or teachers, or staff? What's the data? Do we have that then?
So, Dr. Lawless, if I understand you correctly, because you're coming through a little bit vague, you had asked whether or not we have any employees or students that have tested positive. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, related to that, do we have staff and teachers and students complaining so that we can identify them and test them and so that our remedy is really meeting what the problems are. Do we have that sense? Do we have any cases here of having fever, having headaches? Do we have those data?
Right. The data that we have right now for you is really what's being published through the county office, and that's what we're relying on. Our process, though, again, also has been really following the direction from the county health department. And basically, if there are symptoms or if there's reason to travel from either level 1 or level 2, as called it recently, level 1, level 2 nations. And if there's any kind of symptoms, we report to our head nurse in the district reports that information to the county office. Because for the most part, that report actually comes from the doctor's office. Because of HIPAA rules and things like that, a lot of the information is not being released. And we actually get a call from the county office to the district to notify us. It's almost the other way around. Now, Sam's here as well, and I know Sam's been working with the nurses. Sam, anything to add to that or clarification?
Yeah,
Do you have any specific complaint? At least.
We have zero cases as far as we know as of today.
Zero.
Correct.
Out of 54,000 kids and thousands of teachers were clean. Is that what you're saying?
That is what we're saying, Dr. Lalas, and the nurses that we have are assigned to our schools, all 51 school sites. And so any complaint that came in or concerns that came in to principals or teachers for that matter, everything was funneled to the nurses, and the nurses work directly with the Riverside County Public Health and follow very specific protocols. And to date, zero cases to my knowledge, and that's as current.
I would like to add something, Dr. Lawless, just being in the medical field. It is very different, especially now with students and staff not in school. It's going to be reported to their personal healthcare provider. And again, because of HIPAA, for example, myself, I would not be able to say anything. If there was a test that was done and it was positive, then that indeed is reportable and has to be reported by the Department of Public Health, and they would in turn notify the city and the local health department on that. But just with my experience in the office, the last couple of weeks, we are seeing a lot of symptoms, and we have to decipher, is this something that could be potentially COVID or is it something else? But again, with HIPAA and now with school being out, I think it's more the personal sector but that would be reportable, mandatory by the health department. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, well, lastly, at least an hour, and we should be helpful to funnel any information we can gather, however limited, from the site. We have principals on the site, right? So we can be helpful in telling the county in case there are some cases arising from the local. Because we're so connected to the local. But I know there are no teachers, there are no students on site, but we know adults. We have adults in schools, right? We have principals, administrators. Hopefully we can have a real clear, real for sure that there's nobody affected in our school community area. That's all my concern.
Yes, sir, Dr. Laws. We're just following the direction from the health department. And as Mr. Pollack had mentioned, the reporting actually is the other way around. Patient to the doctor, doctor deciding whether or not to test the patient. Once the result comes back, that report goes from the county office of health to actually the district. And up to this point, as Sam had mentioned, we have 0 cases as of current.
No. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Mr. Z. I do have one more question for Alan on the nutrition. Do we, presuming we're going to go until now April 30th, are we going to be able to have enough shipments coming to us to be able to cover the continuing meals?
Great question, Mr. Z. Yes, we don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to get what we need and have enough of it on hand. The good thing about the type of meal we're going to starting tomorrow is that it has a longer shelf life than like a pizza once we cook it. So we'll be able to have this product on hand longer, and so it should help us in the long run. So we don't see a problem with that.
So that part, somebody was moving the mic, so when you were first saying it. So are these pre-packaged meals then? Is that what you were saying earlier?
Yes, it's like a Lunchable. If you go to the store, you see these Lunchables. It's got like some crackers and cheese and meat, and sometimes they even put some candy in there, Skittles or something. That's what it is. Or there's a pizza one where you can kind of make your own pizza, put your cheese on it. So it's a pre-packaged to-go meal. A lot of kids are used to those, eating those at lunchtime because their parents are buying them at home because it's easier to put in the lunchbox than standing there making a ham and turkey cheese sandwich in the morning, right?
Very good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alan, my question is, are we going to be serving these meals through spring break?
We'll serve up to spring break, and then we'll start again Monday, April 6th, right after spring break.
So we're going to get that word out. We're going to get that word out to the parents so they know that there's no meals that week, right?
We've already communicated that, but we'll re-communicate that next week because there may be some other little changes we're going to make to times and stuff, so we'll send all that out next week before we head off for spring break, yes.
I hadn't seen that yet.
No, neither fine, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Jose?
Yes, Mary?
Yes.
Yes. In terms of the closure of the school, it's been extended to April 30th. I just want to make sure. Is it?
Yes.
Yes, sir, Dr. Wallace. In fact, we're waiting for the final official announcement that came through just less than an hour ago. It is true that the Press Enterprise had published that change earlier this morning, but the official order was not executed until just an hour ago. We have to be have the abundance of caution to be prudent. So just about probably 20 minutes ago, a massive email that we had prepared for was sent to our community, our staff, our parents as well. So indeed, the 30th of April is now the date of school closure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So my question is, how come the Press Enterprise didn't release that kind of information before any of us know about it? And why didn't it? Because it caused a stir. It was,
I can't speak for the President Enterprise, Ms. King, but based on what I read this morning, they were reporting what was taking place at the county supervisors meeting, and Dr. Kaiser apparently had made that statement and did say, and the paper had quoted him saying that is what he has announced that he's going to do, and then later on he will sign the executive order to amend the date. And so that's to the degree of my understanding. And it did cause a little bit of a lot of massive confusion, to be honest with you. And this is not just CNUSD, because our communication has been in the loop with everybody in the county, and the reaction was the same throughout the county. And so we just had to be patient and wait. And like I said, about 20-25 minutes ago, we were able to send out that information from our district.
Morning, yeah. Riverside County put theirs out this morning. And then I go, well, it's going to be soon, but we didn't hear anything. And then all of a sudden it popped in on Facebook, and I'm going, wow. It was very quick.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, the second area I would like to touch upon just a little bit, and again, I want to say thank you to our Ed Services Division and a lot of our principals and staff here at the district office, and jumping in and very, very quickly, it was able to produce a portal for all the enrichment. And I want to emphasize enrichment, because at this point, this perhaps goes back to Ms. King's question, there's so many moving pieces at the same time, and a lot of it are moving and paused quickly, because we're waiting for either county or oftentimes state directive in order to even make that next move. Really difficult to predict. But again, in the area of providing enrichment work for our students, and I know this has been laborious but very efficient. So I'm going to turn over to Dr. Simon. Again, say thank you to you and your staff. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what we have done so far.
So we're really happy to announce that we have TK through 12th grade materials in the core areas. We have that available online. So students, parents, and we have available resources to students, parents, and teachers. So if you have an opportunity to go to the website, just click the link and it will take you to our webpage, and there's an abundance of resources for our parents, our students, and our teachers. And as Dr. Lin mentioned earlier, it is classified as enrichment materials to support that ongoing learning. We had a little glitch with our DLI materials, however, that has been solved, and those items will be delivered first thing in the morning as well. So we have everything up and running, and we will continue to update the webpage on a daily basis with additional resources. We're also working with IT closely, responding to the community as well as parents as they're asking questions about accessing information. Should they have any, if they need help with troubleshooting, we've been working real closely with them. It's just been a wonderful team effort. We've had administrators from the school sites jump in and support, and through these challenges, it's been a wonderful experience as well.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a comment. Yesterday I went to the print shop and I saw mountains of enrichment. And I just want to thank you and your staff, because it was amazing. Jesus was there, and Dr. Gina Buster and Carlos were there, and they were just running. I literally, from machines to machines, because things were coming out, they were putting paper in, and they did an awesome job, and I know that they were working late to try to get everything ready for us to have to the parents tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, President Ybarra. Jesus deserves so much credit. He worked the weekend, kept those machines running nonstop. And as we speak right now, Gina and Carlos and Sarah are at print shop with Jesus, and they're continuing to package materials. So it's just been such a wonderful support system.
So I have a question, and actually everybody has been just incredible. I mean, this is such a fluid time, and I don't know, I look at it, I don't think there's a right answer. There's not a right answer. We're learning along the way. There's no playbook. We're all learning, and we're doing the best we can, and you guys are doing an incredible job, so I just wanted to say that up front. But going back to this, and we're using the term, enrichment, and we're careful to use that term. Can we speak in English so there's no questions? And why are you saying enrichment instead of education and things like that? What does the law say? What are we looking at? Why are we saying that? Can teachers, a high school English teacher say, okay, I'm reaching out on Remind to I want you to do this, or I want you to read this book? Can we just have it clarified so that there's no questions, I guess, is what I'm...
Mr. Pollard, that's a great question, and we're very intentional about using the word enrichment. In fact, inter-district collaboration with other superintendents, and we learn from each other, actually. There's some confusion in very much in even the near neighboring school districts, where there's different expectations, quite honestly, with regards to the work that's being sent home. And what we learned is that because the future with regards to testing, accountability, grades, graduation, is literally in flux and nebulous with no specific answer. Other than this afternoon, we heard Governor Newsom for the very first time actually said in his press conference that he does not believe that the school will resume this year. Basically, the school semester this year is over. And these are his words. He was very cautious to say that's what I predict, because that's what the reality tells me based on real-time data that he has. It's for those reasons that we want to make sure that our family, our parents, and our students understand that this enrichment material is for you to use to keep your skills sharp. It is not for accountability and grading purposes, because if we were to say that now, and the state Department of Education doesn't give us that kind of permission for alignment, now we'll be in a lot of trouble, because obviously the consequence is very, very grave otherwise. And so we're just waiting and wanting to make sure that the students keep their skills sharp, and from the teaching side that there's no expectation, especially when they're at home and not necessarily knowing what kind of connection they have made or can make with individual students. So that's why we're very careful about that. I really appreciate that question.
Well, and I appreciate the clarification, because again, there are some questions, and we're using that term, maybe to be careful and everything, but there are parents out there who are like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean for me working with my kids? Are they? So I appreciate that. I think that
they will not be graded, nor accountable grades.
Okay, so if the school year is done, what happens to the students who need those courses to graduate? Is that still up in the air on how that's going to be decided? Say, if a student needed another semester and didn't really get a semester because they're taking enrichment courses, how's that going to work?
That's such a great question, Mrs. Bauer Queen, and we are writing all these questions down because we do not have answers yet. It's all up in the air.
Yes, all in the air. I understand. We're trying to be fluid, and I do appreciate everything that you've been doing. It's awesome. I know my neighbors are getting the material and they're working on their homework and all the things that people have been putting out in the Facebook that help them with their children as they're home, and they're trying to give them some type of education at home. But the thing is that, so this will probably, I just got some notification that some colleges are not even going to have graduation. So is that something else that we need to look at as well?
Right. At this point, we have not canceled our graduation yet. Again, our county's order is very specific and different, perhaps compared to other counties. Our order closure of school is up until the 30th of April, so we're going to just play by ear. So every event, obviously, up to that point, is deemed to be closed. But again, I take Governor Newsom's words seriously. We should, and we are anticipating that there will be no returning of school. And then so the questions such as graduation, grades, completion, A through G, 220 units, all of those things are up in the air, and we're gonna need a lot more direction coming from the state. We're hoping that tomorrow morning, actually, there'll be a press conference. And for me, it will be a telephone conference with our state public instruction superintendent, Tony Thurman, and so hopefully we'll get a little bit more guidance and more to come.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions with regards to instructional materials?
Actually, not so much a question, but I don't know if we're, now that we have them, are we providing them at our stop and go places as well?
Yes.
The packets?
Yes, at all 15 sites of the stop and go places.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful, great, thank you.
Okay, Madam President, this concludes my report on the item A under the presentation to the board. As I mentioned earlier, the other item related to staffing and negotiations, we'll continue them in closed session. Thank you.
Okay. We will move on to Ms. Dahlia. Second interim budget report. Yay.
Oh, let me turn it on. Oh, you turned it on. Thank you. Okay, so we have to do the second interim report as the order of business. We need to file that with the county under AB 1200. So we will go through those results. So for the second interim report, it's basically our second chance to come to the board and show you our budgets after we had done our adoption back in June. So we came back in December for the first interim, and now the second interim report is giving us just a better update since the last time, showing us what we've spent so far through January 30th, and then projecting the rest of the year. So for our current year, the 1920, we had the January governor's budget, and we looked through those assumptions, and so we're budgeting based on what we know now. For this year, the COLA is staying at 3.26%. Our unduplicated count stays at 49.2%. And our ADA since the first interim dropped a little bit, so we're at 50,689. So we're about a 300 or so a decrease from last year. A little bit of a decrease since the last time we came to the board. And then we updated all our federal, state, and local revenues and any one-time dollars and so on that we had received, for carryover, that was all updated in there. Also, our routine maintenance does increase each time as our expense base goes up. The 3% contribution, the dollar value for that goes up as well. So since this is second interim, we show you what we've done at adopted budget, and then also the first interim budget, and then the third column over is that second interim budget. So the variance is over to the right. The main things to note is that we just brought in additional revenue in our federal income and state revenue. Those are things that may not have been budgeted at the beginning of the year until we knew about, for example, additional Title I dollars under the federal. And for state revenue, those were additional Medi-Cal dollars that we received. On the expenditure side, you'll see a lot of variances over to the right-hand side compared to first interim. And that's as we go into this school year, we just look at every budget and we try to trim where we are. So for example, if we had any vacancies or any savings for sub-usage and so on, and we move things between accounts, and we just are showing the difference there. But at the very bottom, it's a minus 0.4, so it's really pretty much a net zero at the end. It's just movement between accounts. The next page, we go into the 2021 school year. For next year, the projections changed a little bit. The COLA did drop to 2.29%. It was originally at 3% the last time. And then our unduplicated percent stays the same. Our reduction of ADA, at the budget time we had shown, I believe, 100 ADA decline year after year, but at first interim we did change it to 250, so we're kind of showing a bigger decline, so we wanted to make sure that's projected. Also for our FTEs, at first interim we had a decrease of for the projection for next year, when we came at first interim, we said it was going to be a decrease of 20 FTE. We're looking now more at like 25, and again, that's through attrition, and it's because of that further decline in enrollment. As we're doing staffing, we think we can achieve about a 25 FTE decrease. The rest are just the typical adjustments that we do for next year. And these are also, the next page is further adjustments, just the typical cost of doing business for transportation, our routine maintenance, and then of course Rondo Elementary, with the slated opening July 2020, we do have all those costs budgeted. The 21-22 projection, so that's the third year out that we have to project when we file the second interim. We have our COLA remaining at 2.71%. For the last estimate, and again, we're using that decline to 250 just to be on the safe side because we're seeing that trend of around 300 or so. And we also have, based on that enrollment, we have a further decrease of 10 FTE. And I wanted to know that's also for certificated for general ed and special ed combined. So just as we project our staffing, so that number obviously will change once we file for budget for next year. And the rest are, again, the typical increases, no changes from first interim. It's the same thing with the transportation contract and routine maintenance. And then this is the multi-year projections, the budget summaries. So at this point, with the 1920 plus the 2 years out, we are still projecting a positive certification. And we do still, if you look at the very bottom to the right, we have a 12.9 reserve for the 2%. That's what we are required to reserve. We're ending our balance with 23 million, but 12.9 million of it is that required 2%. So at this point, we would be recommending a positive certification. And then this is just a summary of all our other funds. Adult education, child development, and then our nutrition fund with the ending reserves. The building fund is where we have our Measure GG dollars. And then our capital facilities fund is with the rest of the capital funding and our self-insurance fund. So that's pretty much it, unless you have questions.
So the child nutrition, once we get paid by federal for these lunches, that goes into this?
Yes, so right now this is, obviously this was projected before the school closures. Right now we are going to be claiming the meals that we're serving at the school sites. It comes from a different source, kind of like the summer feeding program versus the National School Lunch Program. So we have to be assessing that and see when we do our budget, we'll see where we're at with all our funding, but we're assuming the same funding for right now. Any questions?
John? Oh, go ahead, Bill.
So the decrease in EDA, the projected 250 each year.
Yes.
So that's going to put us
yeah,
about 50,000, I guess, if that holds up.
Yes.
In 2022. Okay.
We're still, when we look at it as a percentage of the total, we're still below the state average. I mean, the entire state is declining in ADA, and we're still hoping to achieve more dollars through there, additional ADA as we have the Rondo School opening and so on. But to be conservative, we are estimating that.
Okay, thank
you. John, I'm going to ask an impossible question that I know you can't answer, but I just want your opinion, I guess. Actually, kind of from you and Alan. With all of this going on, I know these numbers were done before a lot of this started. So COLA, what do you think that'll look like? And there again, the bigger question here for me is kind of what Bill just asked. On the ADA, I think we already have parents that are freaking out, realizing, well, we really need to appreciate our teachers. But then by the same token, I think hopefully not, but I think it may happen that we're having parents that are just going to go, gosh, there's just so much going on, with school shootings and then the coronavirus, all of this, and maybe I should just keep my kids home. So the impossible question is, are these projections even remotely tied to where we're at today? Sorry, I know that's a challenging question. If you can't answer it, I understand.
For the ADA, they already released the emergency legislation, so we'll be counting our ADA through February 29 for this school year. So we are in a sense covered as far as our levels for ADA for this year. But for future, yeah, that would be hard to tell.
I was talking future, because I know they're going to maintain that and still give it to us even after all this is done. But that's only for this fiscal year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Z, this is Alan. I think that as we look at, whenever we do staffing, we're always looking beyond this year. We're looking at our first graders. What does that look like when they're in third and fourth grade? So we're always looking at those cohorts as they progress through the system. And I think based on the trends we're seeing, we all know that birth rates in the state of California are coming in at an all-time low. We know that more people are moving out than are moving in. So we know there's a negative net migration factor going on in California. So I think for us, these numbers are, I would say, realistic. I mean, I don't think they're overly conservative, I guess is what I'm saying. I think this is really what we see the trend happening. Not all that can change, but based on the trends we're looking at, I think this is very realistic for our future.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Dahlia or I?
One more comment. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Elizabeth, Jose, any questions?
No, just thank you for the report. It's very concise and I appreciate it.
And none on my part. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to consent items. Do we have any questions, comments, or highlights?
Now, these become moot because of the closure till to the end of August, correct? I mean, to the end of April, correct? So all these consent items,
Yes.
or I'm sorry, but one in particular for the kids going on the field trip, that's to be canceled, correct?
I'm pulling, well, I will pull that one, but does anybody else have any questions or comments or highlights?
No.
Okay, so I will pull A, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but I have to do it each one, right? No? Okay. A, 1, 2, 3.
5A123.
5A.
Sorry, 5A, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
So, all in favor of?
Wasn't that separate from the rest? Yeah.
Okay. So we.
Actually, I'm sorry, this is John. I have a quick question. I don't think it's, I think it's more discussion, but I want to clarify before we vote. 6D, the E property, is that just, that's not, we're not voting on that, right?
That is correct, Mr. Z. That's an informational session that after you vote on consent, Alan will give a...
Okay, all right, okay. That was my question. I'm sorry. Go ahead with the, I'm sorry, no, Mary.
So I move that we vote on the consent items that were not pulled.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We have to do a roll call, so I'll start with Jose.
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Okay, now, the reason I pulled, it's all field trips and school is closed, so now we will vote on 5A, 1, 2, 3.
Mary, does it become moot though? Do we have to vote on it? It's moot now because Yeah, everything that we need.
It's on the agenda, so we should.
Okay.
Okay. We're good. All right, next. Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mrs. Barra. Madam President, thank you very much. This is the Yee property, our 56-acre piece of land down in the Temescal Valley. And we're bringing as an information item, want to really communicate to the board that based on the interest of our community, interest from the board, that we are moving forward with developing a plan to grade. It says here approximately 26 acres of that 56 acre. If you'll remember when we did our study session a while back, according to the experts, the land developers, the experts we have, not all 56 acres of this land is developable. Is that even a word? I don't know if that's a word, but able to be developed and used. So we've looked at a number of different options, and so we're recommending, or not recommending, we're planning to move forward with going through the necessary steps to go ahead and grade a significant portion of this land. And I think the thing I want to point out is in your agenda item, it says, the very end of it, it says the first required step. This is significant because we've still got to resolve this adequate ingress, egress issue, the issue of access, which we continue to work on. We are working on options and working with different people that own land around this piece of land to secure access. Once we're able to secure access, then we'll be able to move forward with the permitting and approvals to have that property graded. So that's what this item is just to let you know that we are moving forward with whatever we need to do to be able to get some of this land graded so that eventually we'll be in a position to build some type of educational facility, whatever that might look like or be, on that piece of property. So any questions, anything you need to know, or questions you might have of me about that?
Good. I'm good.
Yes, I have a question. Now, I want to thank Alan very much for really pushing this forward, and Dr. Lynn and Sam. I know you've been in discussions with myself and the Education Committee from Temescal Valley. I know at one point we were looking at 16 or 17. What is the, and now it's 26, which I think is good. What was the reason for that increase?
Thank you, Mr. Pollack. That's a great question. So originally, I'm going to go back to, gosh, I think it was before even the holidays, wasn't it? That we'd originally considered just looking at grading like a 2-acre piece of land to put some storage facilities, i.e. containers, on there. As we got into that, we realized the amount of money we were going to spend to do 2 acres wouldn't be that much more just to do 10 acres. So then we looked at, well, what if we graded 10 acres, which we believe would be enough of a piece of graded land to do some type of a STEM school or a JFK type school. Well then, as we kept going and working with our experts and looking at it, we came up with 2 other options. One was to grade about 16 acres. And then as we kept going, we're like, well, my goodness, if we're going to do that, why don't we just take as big a chunk as we can, grade it, whatever we need. So now we're up to, I put 26, which is probably, that's probably a little bit more than it's actually going to be. It's probably going to be somewhere around 23 or 24 acres when we're done, but I wanted to overshoot it a little bit than undershoot it. We think if we had the 27 acres, the way it would be configured, we have about 15 acres that we could use to build a school on. We could also then possibly sell off those other 7 acres, and if they're graded, we believe the return on our investment would be greater if it's graded land rather than just ungraded land. So if we're going to spend all this money in geotech and surveys and doing all this, why not get it to our advantage to where we can use a big portion of it for school, and whatever we don't need, we would then be able to put on the market and sell to somebody else. So that was our thinking.
And I know we don't have a visual right now of the property, but the 26, is that pretty much like the central aspect of that property, would you say? Or is it?
Yeah, I actually can send out to, give to Dr. Lynn to send out to the board, kind of a schematic of what that 23, 24 acre would look like graded, where that sits on the 56 acre parcel. So, yeah, I'll be glad to provide that to you.
And later on, would there need to be board approval for any forward movement in this, in the next step?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the first step, as it says here, would be to get access. Once we have obtained access, we can then move forward with all the approvals and permitting. Since we're not building a school right away, we would not need to go through the Department of State Architects, known as DSA. We would be the lead agent, so we'd be working directly with the county. And then once we get all those approvals and permits taken care of, then we would go out to bid and we would bring contracts back for you to approve for the actual grading to take place.
And my last question, sorry to be hogging the mic, but so once we get something there, that would take away the penalty or the fees that we are accruing?
Yes, the fact that we're intending, that we're making progress to use this property for storage and or educational facility allows us to self-certify with the state that we no longer feel we need to pay the non-use fees because we're actually working on making use of that land.
So that would go in right when we start this?
Once we're able to get access, once we get that resolved, and we start doing our approval and permits, then we could certify to the state that we're moving forward with some type of grading or construction, and we would be able to certify that we don't believe we should pay those fees any longer. Correct.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Jose, Lisa, or John, any questions?
No, this is John, yeah. Ellen, we're not going to start any of this before we are totally and absolutely, with attorneys and everybody and their brother, making sure that we have the ingress and egress, right?
That is correct, Mr. Z. Absolutely. We are going to make sure we get that completely resolved. There's some things happening down there which might be a good opportunity for us, so we'll keep working, we'll keep talking to people, trying to secure that once we get, but nothing will happen until we get that secured, because that gives us then legal access to the property. Anything we were to do before that would not fit in the legal category for us to access that property.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
No more questions? Okay, so the last thing before we close, on a happy note, I received a message from the office of Riverside City College about a half an hour ago. Dr. Monica Green was voted as president of Norco College. And with that, we will close and go into closed session. Thank you.